We start today on the resurgence of the oil and gas lobby. Yeah, you thought the fossil fuel industry was dead? No freaking way. They ruled in the Trump administration, folks. Now, as we get into this, I got to tell you, I got a thing about big oil companies, okay, about the fossil fuel industry. And now I know my daddy had a gas station, and I pumped gas with him. So in a sense, I come from big oil, yeah. But my father wasn't making much money running a little gas station up in Delaware City, Delaware. But I've been against these big oil companies ever since I've been involved in politics, particularly since on environmental politics, for a very simple reason. Because they are the number one polluters of the environment. They don't give a damn. They just care about the bottom line. They have destroyed many beautiful areas of this country. I'm from California with the oil spill in Santa Barbara and the oil spills all up and down the coast, and I've fought them politically ever since I've been involved in politics. I even led an initiative campaign in California to tax the excess profits of the oil companies and put that into mass transit, public transportation. So I've taken on the oil companies for a long time. So I just want you to know, I want to acknowledge I have a certain bias when it comes to the oil and gas industry. But we thought that and of course they ruled this country at one time. After the railroads, it was the oil and gas industry. And we thought that their power lately had diminished a little bit. After all, most Americans, I think, recognize, and even politicians recognizing, we have to move away from fossil fuels. They're running out anyway. They are dirty. They pollute the environment. Yeah, the oil chieftains don't really care about clean air and clean water. All they care about is the bottom line. And so we're moving away from that, particularly under the leadership of President Obama. And we're moving more into renewable energy sources, more into solar, more into wind, into conservation, all kinds of exciting things going on. New CAFE standards for cars that get us up to like 55 miles per gallon. I mean, really making a lot of progress and seeing the decline of the oil and gas industry. Well, guess what? That is reversed already. Donald Trump has put the oil and gas lobby in charge of his new administration in many specific ways. I mean, look at his appointments. Number one, Mr. Oil and Gas himself, the head of ExxonMobil, as our next Secretary of State. And you say, well, that just has to do with treaties and stuff like that. No. John Kerry was the principal architect of the Paris Climate Accord agreements. So in this age of globalization rather, it's not just the United States taking care of our little corner of the planet in terms of protecting the environment. We're all working together worldwide to save the planet. And Rex Tillerson, oil man, is now going to be in charge of those efforts. And then he's backed up by Scott Pruitt, the new head of the EPA, comes right out of the fossil fuel industry. As Attorney General of Oklahoma, he has fought for them. He has sued the EPA. We've talked about he's a climate change denier. He's going to try to reverse everything EPA has done, particularly on the new regulations for coal-fired power plants. And then on top of that, you've now got this guy, Ryan Zinke, congressman from Montana, who's Mr. Coal, been honored and received hundreds of thousands of dollars from the coal industry in Montana. He's going to be the new Secretary of the Interior. He's all for drilling on public lands. And then on top of that, you got Rick Perry as the new Secretary of Energy. And Rick Perry, of course, Mr. Texas, Mr. Oil and Gas. So right down the line. And what can we expect? And on top of that, you got Donald Trump, who doesn't come from the oil industry, but has put these people in charge. And, he's laissez-faire, Mr. Big Business, let them do whatever they want. So we can expect a full onslaught against all the progress we've made over the last 8 or 10 years. A full onslaught meaning reversing the Paris Climate Accord agreements, probably rolling back the CAFE standards on new cars and trucks. Keystone Pipeline, you bet it's going to come back. this Dakota pipeline. You bet that latest decision of the Corps of Engineers is going to be reversed under these guys. Anything to do clean air, clean water, new regulations, all this protection which President Obama was able to get through EPA or through the Congress are going to be reversed. It is and that means also new drilling. There's a ban now on drilling up in certain very sensitive areas of the Arctic. Forget about it. They'll be going up there full speed ahead. A ban on drilling all down the west coast of the United States, from Washington State all the way down to San Diego. Forget about it. They're going to try to get in there and reopen that drilling. I think the new Attorney General of California, Javier Becerra, will fight them every step of the way. So will Governor Jerry Brown, of course. But they'll come after it. Same thing on the east coast of the United States, and same thing in the Gulf. You know, that deep water drilling, which has been more restrained since the big BP blowout. No, these guys are just going full speed ahead. It is going to be absolute blank check, absolute green light for oil and gas development and coal and mining in this country under the leadership of these guys. And, of course, behind them all, you've talked about oil and gas money, the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers, that is their agenda. And we've talked about that before, too, that when you hear the Koch brothers giving all this money in politics, they're not doing it because they want good government. They're doing it because they are the biggest fossil fuel company in the world, and they want, Charles Koch has said that. They want to do away with EPA. They want to do away with the Department of Interior. They want to do away with all government regulations over the oil and gas industry. That's why they have pumped hundreds of millions of dollars into Republican campaign coffers, and they are finally going to get their day. And they're behind every one of these politicians. So I'm telling you, this is the bad news. And, of course, climate change is overall is going to be the big loser, because you've got Donald Trump, the climate denier in chief, now surrounded by Rick Perry, climate denier, Ryan Zinke, climate denier. I'm forgetting Scott Pruitt, climate change denier, and Rex Tillerson. And his position, people say, well, he can't be so bad because he thinks that he's not for repealing the Paris Climate Change Agreement. Yeah, but this is ExxonMobil, who until, I'm not sure about that, we don't know, haven't seen the figures for this year, but in ExxonMobil's last report, which came out in July, through 2015, they were still the chief funder of climate change denial organizations like the American Enterprise Institute and the American Legislative Exchange Council. So Rex Tillerson's position actually on climate change, when he was asked about it, is he says, it's not a serious problem. It's just an engineering problem that we can fix. That's how he dismisses the whole thing of climate change. So I'm telling you, if you care about the environment, you care about clean air, you care about clean water, this is going to be a very, very dangerous time. Let's talk about it. 866-55-PRESS. I'll tell you how dangerous it is. It is more dangerous. The oil and gas lobby, the fossil fuel industry, is going to be more in power this time than when we elected an oil man, George W. Bush, as president of the United States. At least Bush or his father, another oil guy, they didn't take the keys to the government and turn it over to the fossil fuel industry and say, you're in charge. That's exactly what Donald Trump has done.